Hello and welcome. It's SF1 time, Classic League for your weekly dose. Wednesdays we always run the Classic League, which is a fairly new introduction to the SF1 sort of program. But we decided to open it up. We've had a bit of mixed results. We're constantly having at least a pack of 10, 11 drivers, which is good. 10 or 11 very good drivers, I must say. It's not a bad driver in there, or someone you wouldn't really want to be driving against. So fairly high quality mix, and everyone's running out onto track. We're running the 1978 Lotus for today's race. It's going to be interesting to see which drivers acclimatise better to it, because they only find out, I think it's just under a week before the race, what car and what track it's going to be. So they don't have a particularly long amount of time to actually get the practice they need. And if someone's got a busy life schedule or pretty hard week at work, then they might not quite have amount of time needed to get the practice they desire in. So we have run into issues before where if a driver joins later on in the race, they actually end up with sometimes a slightly different car. We've set it to C1 class, which I believe is what these ones are in, so they should get, I don't know what C class is, but we've set it to the same class that this car is in, but there is a 3 or 4 I think in each one, so they could unfortunately get a slightly faster or slower car. It happened to, I believe, Kimi Raikkonen earlier in the season with when we were running the McLarens at Japan. Ended up in a slightly faster car, and that did affect the race. But looks to me like everyone's in the right car. What to look for is Gumba Ak, and there you go. He's unfortunately not in the right car at all. It did happen. He did join just as the lights went for the lobby closing, and unfortunately that's mucked him up quite a bit. So I wonder what's going to happen for Gumba, who's stuck unfortunately in that fast, slower car. Well, most people on track at the moment. Rhodes, E-Rhodes, he's a GP2 driver. He's fairly quick, I think, taking... no, he didn't take third. That was his brother that took third in SF1 Rhodes in the Canadian GP2 race. So E-Rhodes, SF1 Rhodes, they're brothers. They're probably in the same room. It'll be very competitive between the two of them. We're watching Clutchy. He's set a 125.9 currently. I have no idea how competitive that's going to be, but we'll soon find out. Short qualifying, so we're not going to be waiting about too long to find out who's going to be where. So Jono in second, Andrew, who's also been a very, very fast driver over the course of the Classic League. William Lauzu, again, a very, very fast driver. I think he's probably one of the quickest in the GP1 league. The Ghost, a bit of an unknown for me, I've got to say. But he's sitting in fifth at the moment. Raikkonen, another quick driver. Whiffy winner, Senna, E-Rhodes. We're all out on track, looking to post something decent. Whiffy taking a win in the GP2 race in Canada. Very good drive from him last Saturday. See whether he can turn that into a win in the Classic League. Livid's, SF1 Road in the pits there. Livid, I believe, is on a lap, so we'll stick with Livid and see what he can set from one of his earlier runs. 12 minutes remaining of qualifying. Yeah, Everyone looking like they're really having to hassle the car around the track. They're definitely not 2018 chassis at all. Ooh, a little bit deep there. It's the penultimate corner for Livid Opossum, but here we come onto the not so straight. Is it going to be a little bit slow? 126. It's good enough for third currently, but he's way off the pace at the moment. Ironically, here's Senna. Puts him on 27.5. It's invalidated, so he's going to have to go try again. Rhodes on a lap. SF1 Rhodes leaving the pits. Mo, another driver that's not put a lap in. But he is on a lap now, so let's see what he can do. Comes Mo into braking. Ooh, lot of scrub on those front wheels, a lot of understeer as he turned. You could just see he turned, nothing happens for a while, so obviously going to be very difficult initially. Oh, not so neat and tidy for Mo on this lap. He's touched the wall. Here he comes. Across the line for a 1:28.5, so it's a lap, but it's way off pace initially. Here's Senna again. He's looking for something decent. He's at E Rhodes in front of him, who's gone very deep. Moves. Oh, doesn't move out the way. So if Senna was on a lap, he's going to be very annoyed with that move from Rhodes. But C Rhodes was actually on a lap, so that's definitely disappointed him somewhat. William Lausel's stuck a 1:24.9 up there, along with the Ghost. And second, Clutchy, third, the 1:25.6. Things are getting a lot closer now. The Ghost puts in a 1:24.5. It's a very quick lap. Beating William Lausel. A very fast GP1 driver. It's all well and good being fast in your leagues and in your categories, but this is the classics, so you can very much see anyone come from anywhere and win. Oh, E Rhodes a little bit cautious on the throttle. He turns for the corner. Very tentative. I'm loving the... Oh, he's backed off. No? Is he back? No? Oh, and that's his lap done for, really. Senna's in the pits. Here's his brother, SF1 Rhodes, who is on a lap, so... Oh, dear. I think there's going to be an argument in that household. Goomba in the pits. The Ghost... Oh. Okay, the Ghost been disqualified. That was a bit awkward. Didn't see what happened there, but obviously he's spun round and in trying to get the car back in the right direction, has been disqualified. So that puts him out, no matter what his lap time was, which was very quick. But that's him out of qualifying and starting from the back. William Lausel in the pits currently. Here's Andrew JS, who we know is a very fast driver. Doing very well in the Classic League currently. Just watch him as he attempts to set a pole-worthy lap time. Clutchy just 3/10 behind him. Across the line, Andrew takes pole momentarily. We'll see if anyone else can beat it, but for the moment, that's a 1:24.3. Way ahead of William Lausel for the moment. It's almost 7/10, sort of half a second faster there. Clutchy he did pass the line, but couldn't beat it. Let's see. He's on a lap. We'll see if he can possibly put something a little more powerful on. So we'll come back to Clutchy, see if anyone else is nearing the finish. Jono couldn't improve. Whiffy's on an out lap. Rhodes in the pits. So, really it is just Clutchy on the lap as he comes round hairpin. Nice view from the helicopter. Oh, but there's traffic on the exit as we come under the tunnel. Here we go. Sporting the yellow helmet. Down into braking. Clutchy turns in. Nice. Very controlled on the power early enough to get a clean exit. Nice drive out of the chicane. Oh, just touches the barrier twice there as we come towards the swimming pool. Can go a lot faster than you think into this corner, but quite a shallow line, and that surely is going to be a corner cut for Clutchy. But we'll sit on board and watch. It's a little bit hesitant exiting the penultimate corner. Here we go. What's it going to be? 24, not quite enough. 25.7, didn't improve. Rhodes in the pits. Livid Opossum coming to the final sector here. A bit of traffic ahead, but hopefully they'll get out the way or won't be in the way. It's Jono. Jono crosses the line. He's not going to improve. Livid Opossum doesn't improve. 126.5, but it wasn't validated, unfortunately. Got Whiffy winner. No. Jimmy Rhodes to come across the line with a 132, so obviously not as clean a lap as he was going to want. Gumba in the wrong car, I must add. So if he can do anything other than qualify last, it would be amazing. The understeer on that thing. Andrew J.S. Thomas puts in a 124.2, even faster again, 0.2 faster than his previous best time. William has got to find something to answer with as Gumba pops in 132. It wasn't validated though. If he can go just a tiny bit faster than that 132, then he might get in front of E. Rhodes for the moment. Andrew taking a lot of curb there. Here's William attempting to go faster. Challenging for the pole here. Oh! Ho, ho, ho. William takes everything, walks away with nothing. Beautifully planted into the wall there as William Lausel. It's going to open up a yellow flag and cause a lot of difficulty for most people into the final sector. If Andrew knows about that, he should be happy, but Clutchy's going to be worried because he's coming down into the area that Williams' car was sitting. Hopefully he'll be moved by now. It's Clutchy getting very close to the back. Yeah, the car's been moved very close to the back of Livid, I believe that was. That is going to have caused him quite a bit of hassle. It's not going to be a decent enough qualifying lap. It's a 125.3, but it wasn't validated. And who else is... Oh! Jeez. Okay. Clutchy just got a 5-second 5-place grid penalty for that incident. That's a little bit awkward. I wish I could go back and see exactly what happened, but I must have blinked because that happened all too quickly. Just 1 minute remaining. Oh, William is out. Clutchy's got a 5-place grid penalty. Livid Opossum is out. Kimi Räikkönen out. Gumba out. The Ghost disqualified. So it's just Clutchy and Rhodes to challenge, really, for pole. Jono, Whiffy, Mo, E. Rhodes, and SF1 Senna, of course, are there as well. But it's going to be difficult unless they're hiding a lot of pace. Just watching Clutchy. Oh, big corner cut there. That's not going to be a validated lap, I don't think. Nope, in the pits he comes. He's not going to try for anything else. So who else is there? There's Rhodes. There's Jono as he comes onto the start straight. See if he can improve. Running a little bit down at the moment. It's not going to be an improvement. Whiffy. Back section there. Mo in the pits. E. Rhodes. Looking for an improvement on 10th. Touches the wall, so it may not come this time round. On to start straight. Not an improvement at all. Rhodes couldn't improve either, but he's still got time left for an optimum lap time. The track, of course, is in the best condition right now for Rhodes to get that lap time. It's just if there's any traffic. He has been caught out the last few laps by that traffic. So we'll sit with Rhodes as he tries to better 5th place. Improve from a 125.8. We've seen him do it, but it's been invalidated the last 2 times. So he can just beat that 125.3, get himself just 1 gap ahead. Even 124.9 doesn't seem too far out of reach for SF1 Rhodes. Definitely seen him get very close. Very smooth on the throttle. Here we go. Towards the swimming pool. Carries a nice amount of speed, okay. Final sector. Nice and tight, hugging that barrier and getting on the throttle as soon as possible. Not dilly-dallying. Eases off. Here we go. 23, 24, 25. It's faster, but it's not quite enough to get in front of Clutchy. Managed to get in front of Livid, but not quite Clutchy, unfortunately. So that is Rhodes' attempt done with, and everyone else by the looks of it. Great lap time by Andrew JS. Very quick, almost half a second faster than anyone else. We had a very good lap time as well from the Ghost, sorry. A very promising attempt at pole, but he got disqualified, unfortunately, when trying to correct a spin. So here's your qualifying. Andrew JS, Thomas, William Lausel, Clutchy, SF1 Rhodes, the Livid Opossum, Jono, Whiffy winner, SF1 Mo, Kimi Räikkönen, E. Rhodes, SF1 Gumba, SF1 Senna, and that disqualification gives the Ghost P13 after a stunning pole. Clutchy, of course, remember, has the 5-place grid penalty, so that'll move Rhodes, Livid, Jono, and Whiffy up a place. I believe Mo as well. I'm not very good with maths, but should see for an interesting start to the race with a couple of the fast guys starting further back than you'd expect. Okay, only 13 drivers, but this is Monaco, so you only really need 2 to get a race going, or in fact a crash. This will be a momentary break before we move on to the race to give the drivers a little bit of time to adjust their setups, their strategy and everything for the race. Don't know if they've got a particularly large or vast amount of knowledge on the car and the track, but they're going to be doing all they can to give themselves enough time to get ready and to, of course, get everything set, get the optimum strategy sorted out for the race. So give them about 4 or 5 minutes. Obviously it's been a minute or two now, so 3 or 4 minutes time, race will be kicking off. We'll obviously have the formation lap, give you guys enough time to settle down and enjoy the race. It is Monaco, so we will be expecting a lot of controversy during the race, a lot of hectic battles, and of course, hopefully not, but the odd crash or two. So the livered opossum's actually readied up, so we're going to be starting a little bit earlier than we think, just 30 seconds to go till formation lap then. A livered opossum possibly looking at a penalty of some sort from the steward. I do believe someone had a qualifying ban, but it doesn't look like they're actually... Yeah, for some reason I think it's Clutchy, but hopefully not. Yeah, as you can see, not many drivers are actually ready. They're expecting that 5-minute break. Interesting to see that Clutchy's name is still in third there. Interesting. Hopefully that'll move once formation lap is over. A lot of people getting disqualified. We won't look at them too much because we know that the race was started slightly earlier, so they might not be ready. They in fact might be still on the toilet right now, which is unfortunate, or making a tea or getting a drink or whatever. It's not good to see that, but obviously unless it was unless Livid was informed to start that, he obviously shouldn't have started. So we give the drivers time to line up, and let me get a quick sip of water and ready for this excellent race. Remember, we've got the Ghost and Clutchy. He's going to be further down the grid, but the Ghost, who was sitting on pole, is going to be starting from the back. Could be a little bit of a race from the back there for the Ghost. So if you are watching, put your predictions in the chat, thoughts, feelings about qualifying the race. Let us know what you're thinking. And if there is a driver, of course it looks like it's going to be clear, but if you just let us know about possible weather changes. So here they go, lining up. We're just waiting for the final cars. To line up on the grid. Yeah. So very far back for the Ghost, a bit weird, but here we go. Andrew on pole. Williams going to try and make the most of the start. 5 red lights. Lights are out. Let's go. Great start from Andrew. That's just to keep that wheel spin at bay, but Williams trying to stick his nose in. Cuts the corner slightly to get a better run up the line. How clean is it through the first corner? Everyone seems to get through fairly nicely. Andrew maintaining that second position, the livered opossum, third position now. And Clutchy down in 7th there from the start, so he must have, the game must have caught up with us there. Very tight pack at the front. Obviously going to be looking at a fairly long, tight race. Halfway through lap 1, and there isn't a gap between anyone really. Bit of first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sort of all together. Maybe top 3 breaking away a little bit. on Livid as he tries to stick to the back of William. What's going on at the back? There's position changes between Jono falling back behind Rhodes. Whiffy moving up. Clutchy still sort of in the same place. So there's the position changes. Livid and William doing a great job to stick with Andrew. They don't want him to get away at all, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to pass them. Rhodes is SF1 Rhodes as well is sticking nice and close to the back of that pack of 3. Only then do we see a bit of a gap forming to Jono. No, I swear there was a gap a second ago. There isn't now, so a little bit yo-yo-y for the lot of them, but Jono's doing a nice job to stay nice and tight to the back of Rhodes with that bright green helmet of his. Sideways, but actually advancing nicely through the race. Whiffy and Clutchy sporting the yellow helmets, looking very iconic as they pass through the tunnel and down into hard chicane. Opossum 3-second time penalty, so he must have done a little bit of corner cutting somewhere. Meanwhile, Williams actually breaking away from Opossum and gaining on Andrew just a little bit. Andrew not managing to get away too quickly. I missed that penalty at the bottom there. Didn't quite see who that was, but interesting to see what the Ghost is doing. He's not made too much gain from the back of the grid, but he's up in 9th now, so it's at least a point. He just drops back down to 10th as Mo tries to take him under yellow flag, I might add. Very odd. Ghost isn't going to be too happy with that. Moves back ahead of Mo quite swiftly. On top of that, Livid Opossum looks like he's struggling somewhat with those tyres. SF1 Rhodes looks like he isn't so much. Possibly going to make the gap a lot smaller. Close in on Livid Opossum, try and take that 3rd position and then advance onto William and Andrew. Be the ideal solution for SF1 Rhodes, but it's going to be very difficult as Monaco is very difficult to pass. William staying within that 1 second of Andrew, but not managing to close it too much. He was down at half a second last lap, managed to make a bit of an advance, but it's fallen back since, and looks like he's struggling somewhat just to stay with Andrew JS as it drops just out of the 1 second mark now. Have a look at Livid as that gap to SF1 Rhodes is getting a lot smaller. SF1 Mo. It's a 3-second time penalty. And there's Livid Opossum. Rhodes has really caught him over the past lap. He's closed about a second and a bit on Livid Opossum, so he's clearly struggling, Livid, struggling with his tyres or setup or something. It's not quite right for him because he really struggling now to keep pace, and Rhodes is capitalising on that, even though he's got Jono, who seems to be sitting quite politely behind him. He knows that it's not the time to battle now, is the time to sort of get the pace down. And oh, Jono loses the back end just as I was saying it, and loses his front wing just as I was calling him out for being patient, and was just about to say how you don't need to start trying to make moves and make mistakes, but he just gets the commentator's curse, loses the back end and into the barrier, which actually loses him place to Clutchy, but frees up Rhodes, so he's not got to worry about possibly defending from Jono at all. He can now concentrate solely catching Livid, passing him, and then making that advance on William for second, and hopefully by the end of the race closing up on Andrew. But keep your eye on the Ghost, who was sitting on pole, got that disqualification. He should be moving up through the field quite rapidly. As I say that, takes Kimi Räikkönen. We should still see them quite close together. No, the Ghost just drives away. So Whiffy winner is his next subject. 6 seconds down the road. Things starting to stretch out a little bit between everyone. Williams really falling back now. Almost 2 seconds not managing to keep it in that gap. Hopefully he can maintain the 2-second gap. He doesn't want to lose much more than that really, because then strategy can really start making a negative effect on your race. Livid actually opening that gap to Rhodes, so seems that people are struggling really to stay close to each other, but managing really to stay within that 2-second gap for the moment. Rhodes really trying to get it under that 1 second mark, as it's pushing like hell. Don't know whether maybe seeing Jono behind him spin out, knowing how hard he's pushing, possibly maybe made him a little bit hesitant for that lap, but hopefully he can start closing the gap once again on Livid Opossum for 3rd place. Does look very smooth, very fast in comparison to Livid. If we sit on board with Livid, he looks a little bit... Yeah, there's the understeer, you see, he turns in and nothing really happens. Whereas Rhodes, everything just looks so much more comfortable, so much more precise. As Livid makes a massive mistake, goes very deep. Hits the barrier, I believe. May have lost a little bit of wing, but he seems to have gotten away a moment. Rhodes gets a 3-second penalty, not to be mistaken for SF1 Rhodes. They are brothers, I believe. Livid Opossum hitting the barrier again, so he's really feeling the pressure. Jono gets 3-second time penalty. Rhodes has got to capitalise on this and make the move as soon as possible, because with those mistakes, if he sits behind Livid too long, he's going to get caught up, and watching someone in front make mistakes is not what you want to be doing in comparison to driving away from the person making mistakes. Livid just looks like he's struggling massively with that understeer. Here they are, nose to tail, but there's Clutchy closing in. Remember, he qualified 3rd, but he had that 5-place grid penalty, which pushed him down to 8th, I believe. He's brought himself through the field and now catching up with Rhodes for 4th place, but this could ultimately turn into the battle for 3rd place. And, the longer Rhodes sits behind Livid, the bleaker his chances are looking to catch William and, in fact, Andrew. May only be 6 laps in, but time quickly runs out. Yeah, Rhodes now having to start thinking about Clutchy, and that's going to affect him, whether he thinks it or not. Livid's going to be very happy with that. Rhodes making inroads on Kimi. As I say that, he makes a bit of a mistake, drops back a little bit, but wasn't too harsh. But sitting there in 9th, obviously no points for 9th, only the top 6 scoring. Andrew making himself very much known to the rest of the drivers, as of course to be reckoned with. He's been very dominant over the past few races. If he hasn't won, he's been there or thereabouts. William Lauzul as well, a very quick driver, but just not managing to answer back with anything. Rhodes again very close to Livid, but Livid makes another mistake, but Rhodes has really got to get past. His Clutchy is right there. He's going to want to get past. Here we go, down the straight again. Rhodes just too far back from Livid. He's going to be hoping. Livid goes a bit deep there. Clutch is going to be able to capitalise on that, but again, it's Monaco, so where do you pass? Where do you make that move, and how do you make it stick? Livid goes very deep. This could be the opportunity if he can get a slingshot. No, he can. Yes! No, not quite on the power, hopefully enough. Very fragile on the brakes. looking very slow. Virtual safety car now then. That'll be why they slowed down so much. I was wondering for a second what happened. But virtual safety car, that'll be for Kimi Räikkönen, who's a bit of a mess up. I didn't see what happened, but might pass his car. Virtual safety car is now over with, and Clutchy has lost out there, and Rhodes has capitalised. But again, Rhodes is gonna. Oh! Livid Opossum absolutely clatters the barrier. We just nipped on board with Rhodes just in time to see Livid wiped himself out. Luckily though, SF1 Rhodes has managed to advance there. However, he doesn't have the buffer now of Clutchy having to try and get past Livid Opossum. We knew that Livid was definitely struggling with his possibly his rear end grip or the balance. I wouldn't say tyres yet, but definitely a bit of a setup possibly. Just didn't feel right. Seemed very twitchy, and eventually, of course, it took its toll. And we see Livid Opossum on the barrier in just lap 9. Coughing downstream. So the closest battle we have really is SF1 Rhodes and Clutchy fighting for the 3rd spot on the podium. And Clutchy takes the 3rd spot on the podium as SF1 Rhodes slows down tremendously. I wonder what that was about. Maybe he decided, you know what, there's no point holding each other's races up. Get on with it. Maybe he thinks he'll be quicker behind him, but very, very interesting move. Yeah, well, Rhodes is managing to stick with Clutchy. Maybe it's actually interesting to see it. Possibly Clutchy wasn't so much faster, but the advantage of being in the toe of a driver in the classic cars around Monaco is actually far greater than we would have thought. Not much space for towage, but obviously when you get it, it's very helpful. Either that or Clutchy's just made a handful of mistakes this time round because he looked dominantly fast when he was behind Rhodes. Now it's looking to me a little bit like Rhodes is slightly faster than Clutchy. But again, it may well just be an illusion. William Lausel gets a 3-second time penalty. Clutchy defends coming out of the tunnel into chicane. Rhodes not managing to actually make any advance there, so nothing much happening. Rhodes sort of sticking about, looking for the right place to make the move. But it's very difficult around Monaco, as we saw. He was stuck behind Livid Opossum for a long time until Livid eventually made the crucial mistake and put himself in the wall. His Rhodes just half a second away. It's not going to be enough this time round. Meanwhile, Andrew JS dominating the race with a 5.3 second gap currently to Clutchy. Obviously yo-yoing a little bit, but only seems to be ever extending throughout the race. Just lap 11 and 5 seconds ahead. Clutchy actually falling way back from William Lausel after the fighting that's been going on between Clutchy, Rhodes and earlier Livid Opossum. Put them way back, all fighting for that 3rd position. It's 11 seconds adrift from William Lausel now. Hopefully they can sort of maintain that or start closing it in. If they stop fighting so much, might be able to use two-car train to sort of advance on the gap. Rhodes falling away a little bit from Clutchy now. Just drifting out of that 1 second buffer. And William dropping off massively from under over the last couple of laps. It'd be interesting to see where the pit stops lie for this race. Not really sure. I haven't done too much research on the classics, but I would have thought it would be a sort of half and half race. So maybe looking around 18, 19, 20 for the pit stops. So far, we had SF1 Gumber and Senna, unfortunately not starting after qualifying. Very weird to see. I don't really know what happened there. I didn't see anything in the chat. So, unfortunately, Gumber and Senna unable to start. Kimi Räikkönen was our first DNF on around lap 8 or 9, I believe. And then Livid Opossum following fairly shortly, just after the virtual safety car closed off, actually, and ending his race on that lap, I believe lap 10 or 11. So that promoted, obviously, Rhodes up into third. Clutchy was there with an answer once he got back up to speed and passed fairly quickly Rhodes, pushing him into fourth and moving Clutchy, of course, up into that third spot on the podium. Whiffy is currently 16 seconds behind, but that is Ghost very, very close to the back of Whiffy. He's definitely going to look for that advance into 5th position. He was sitting on pole towards the end of qualifying, but unfortunately had that disqualification. He spun it coming into the hairpin, into this section where they are now. Spun it round here, and in trying to get the car back round, obviously didn't have traction control off. He couldn't whip the car around, so ended up doing a 17-point turn or something, and unfortunately disqualified him. So a good drive from the Ghost to pull himself all the way back from 13th on the grid, or 11th on the grid considering the non-starters, to what looks like it may be a positive 5th position. There is a bit of a buffer from Whiffy to Rhodes currently, 5th to 4th. That might be quite difficult to close up, but there's definitely plenty of time if he has the pace. Currently looking a little bit slow as he's stuck behind Whiffy, and of course that's not going to help him in closing the gap to the podium positions. Yeah, Rhodes letting Clutchy through earlier, which is a little bit weird. So I agree with your inquisitive emoji there. Reccy04, Recy, Recky, I'm not sure. Here's the Ghost, desperately trying to get past Whiffy winner, the GP2 Canada winner. Oh, and round goes the Ghost, just on the throttle a little bit too early, lit up the rear, and just spun round very dramatically. He's lost out massively to Whiffy winner now. He's going to be very frustrated and going to have very, very hot rear tyres. But you see how he managed to spin his car straight back round. That is what he wasn't able to do in qualifying, which is very weird. Which gave him his qualification, but unfortunate to see him make that mistake, get on the throttle just that little bit too early, and that's possibly his chances for an attack on the podium positions gone. Not so much his attack on Whiffy. If he's got the pace, he can still try and close that gap once again, and get past him, as Whiffy doesn't seem to be able to make any advance on that 16-second gap he has to SF1 Rhodes. 8 seconds now, the gap to Andrew J.S. Thomas from William Lousel. It's a very dominant drive once again from South Africa. And there he is. Speak of the devil, we're getting a bit of screen time. It can be very easy to be ignored when you are in so much space. Of course, no one particularly wants to just watch the car going round and round in circles for 39 laps. That's why we add more cars to it and call it a race. extraordinary that, but we do like to see more than one car together. But there's actually Andrew's having to navigate some back markers, and I say back markers, it's SF1 Mo, so he's sitting in 8th. So Andrew's actually managed to lap so far up to 8th position. So shows the domination he has been showing this Wednesday evening, or indeed whatever general time it is in your country. Is William not too far behind by the looks of it, but obviously it's 9 seconds and it's a lot to ask to close that up, especially with such even tyres and the cars being exactly the same. So there's no sort of advantages that you would get in a real F1 race to be able to close that massive gap. It's going to be very difficult. We've just got to hope and pray possibly that Andrew makes a mistake or makes the wrong call on pit stop timing or something like that to try and put himself back into that race. Like I was saying earlier, it's really important to try and stay within that 2 or 3 second gap of the guy ahead, otherwise pit stop strategy is really the only choice you've got to try and make some gains in the race. SF1 roads now actually Whiffy Winner's DNF, so we've missed what's happened there, but Whiffy Winner, who was of course in front of the Ghost as we saw with that little X, and there's Whiffy Winner, so just coming out of the swimming pool section. He's obviously done a very similar thing to what Liver the Possum does. It's probably one of the easiest mistakes to make around this track, to just pinball yourself off the walls at the swimming pool section. Very easily done, but that crucially promotes the Ghost, who started in P11 or last on the grid. He's moved up to 5th and Jono into 6th, and eventually obviously SF1 Mo and E Rhodes up into 7th and 8th. Of course, only the top 6 scoring points, as it's the Classic League, we like to keep things classic, so top 6 scorers only. Makes these smaller gridded race a little bit more interesting sometimes, so especially if you've got someone that you're actually watching, you're cheering along for them just to get that extra point or so. E-Road's really struggling this time out. He's very far back, very far down the grid. SF1 Mo as well, 34 seconds adrift. Jono. Things close up a little bit further up the grid, but again, the gaps really are starting to form, and it's desperately calling for a pit stop, which we will be seeing, I'm sure, very soon. Just trying to have a look at each driver and see where weaknesses are, if any. Got you going a little bit deep into the hairpin there. With Monaco is because it's such a tight circuit, it's just corner after corner. Of course, once you get into a rhythm, oh no, we got migrating host. Of course, that'll be Kimi Raikkonen. No, Whiffy Winner, sorry, was hosting the race, so it will be Whiffy Winner that is migrating there. Yeah, Whiffy Winner has left the session. I hate it when you see that when you're racing, because it often means that you've just been kicked out. And I've just completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, Monaco, because it's obviously such a tight track, corner after corner. Once you get into a rhythm, if you get knocked out of that rhythm, even the slightest bit, I don't know, someone pops up in your party chat or says something, or you think about something, maybe another driver, or you're thinking about strategy and it catches you out and you brake a bit too late. That just one little mistake can put you off for not just the next corner, but the corner after, and of course the corner after. And until you manage to get that sort of rhythm back, you're going to be out of place for sometimes up to like a whole lap. Just not being able to get the rhythm back, get the lines back, especially if you're pushing really, really hard. And obviously at the higher levels, the margin for mistake is so much smaller than in the lower levels. If you misbrake a little bit, you can sort it out and get around the corner still when you're really, really pushing. miss a break a little bit, you're done. So, on a track like Monaco, you can really mess your rhythm up, mess things up, and that's the sort of thing you got to look out for in the races. 39 laps, even though it's a 50%, it's a long time sat in the classic cars, and it's ever so easy to make those sort of mistakes, as we've seen from Livid and Whiffy Winner, and of course Kimi quite early on in the race. Andrew JS showing us that he's not one to make mistakes too often. And of course, Ian Mousel doing the same, just not quite as quickly. Same can be said for Clutchy. Rhodes sort of staying within that 2.2, 2.5 second gap. I'm not sure entirely about just lost myself. Not sure completely about penalties. Normally have another commentator to sort of look through and spot them out for me, but not so much in the classic leagues. We find out right at the end. It's sort of a little bit of a lottery sometimes, depending on the gaps, especially with something as small as a 2.6 gap. Can really throw up a surprise at the end of the race due to just penalties. Really just waiting to see who makes the first pit stop. The feeling it's going to be William. I don't know why, but the feeling is there. We'll see, is he going to pass? Yeah, he passes the pits. So maybe they're going to try and put... Oh, catches the rear end just on that inside barrier. That could have been a full spin. Very well done in saving that. That could have been a spin and a lot of time lost in his race. Well, of course, that pushes him back maybe half a second. Clutchy now 8 seconds behind. Tentative on the throttle. He's definitely not using. He's definitely using traction control and ABS. You can see by the throttle and brake in the bottom right-hand corner. You can just see by how aggressive they are using the throttle and the brake, whether they're using assists, and sometimes you can even tell what level of assist they're using with the traction control. And I can assure you, with the blip in the throttle like that, he's probably not using. He's probably using traction control for that one. But, nevertheless, he's still doing very quick lap times, and is 7 seconds ahead of the third place driver of Clutchy, who is not using ABS, but is using half traction, as you can see by the throttle and brake gauge in the bottom right hand corner. That's what I've gathered from that. He might not even be using ABS. He's not using full brake, so I don't think he's using ABS. But Clutchy putting in a sterling job, considered a bit of a wild card. With an underdog, you wouldn't really have said Clutchy in your top 3 going into this race if you've been watching the classic rounds. So he's doing a very good job to keep himself firmly on the podium positions. He did a great job fighting SF1 Rhodes, who, by the way, is still very much there and still very much in with a chance of getting that third position. As you can see, there is Clutchy just ahead of him and not getting away. That gap's been within about 2.5 seconds for the past 5 or 6 laps. As we approach lap 20, halfway around lap 21, sorry. So about just over halfway through the race now. And Rhodes and Clutchy still very much fighting. Interesting, if we have a look at SF1 Rhodes, what he's doing. Brakes. Okay, so full ABS and medium traction control for SF1 Rhodes. That's what I've gathered there's not much actual fighting going on to commentate on, so I'll just go through each driver and we can have a little gander at what they're doing and how they're tackling this race. SF1 Roads is actually starting to make a tiny bit of a gain on Clutchy, maybe not particularly noticeable, but possibly half a tenth or a tenth a lap sort of thing. Put that down from 2.5 tenths, maybe 2 or 3 laps ago. No, 2.5 seconds, sorry. Maybe 2 or 3 laps ago. Ghost puts in a fastest lap. He's got a lot of clear space ahead of him. Obviously, he's let's just stop. Okay. So he's not made a stop at all. Jono, Mo, and E Rhodes, of course. Oh, Rhodes made 3 stops. Blinkety blimey. Well, that'd explain why he's so far back. But Jono and Mo making 1 stop already. Be interesting to see when Andrew, William, and Clutchy decide to pit. So the Ghost showing that those tyres are still very much there. Not losing too much, although as I say that lights up the rear end. Almost spinning that one around as he comes down into braking for the chicane. Okay, no ABS. Medium or no traction control. I think that's no traction control if I'm honest, so it looks like he's not running any assist at all for the Ghost. As William has made his pits, he's coming out, the Ghost just a little bit too far behind to get in front. Still has to make a pit anyway, so not quite there as William climbs the hill. The Ghost isn't there, so still in P5 for the Ghost. But William Lousel, of course, coming from second to pit there. Interestingly, not getting any traffic at all, actually. Yeah, well, Clutchy and Rhodes have got to think about what they're doing, because if they get too close and start fighting, they're going to lose out in the pit stop phase. But William going to lap 22 then till he pits. Andrew JS has definitely got, yeah, he doesn't pit this lap either. He's definitely got enough time to play around with. I think it was about 13-14 seconds, maybe even more, the gap from Andrew to William when William pitted. So he's got enough time to really push these tyres as long as possible and then run with far newer tyres in his final session. Which, of course, if there is a safety... Ooh, flipping hell, Jesus, nearly knocked myself out. If there is a safety car, or any calamities like that, he can try and come out more dominant with his tyre strategy, as well as obviously his pace being very good. And you can think about that. Clutchy and Rhodes can sort of be thinking the same thing, although they don't have the time to boot. They're not really going to be thinking about keeping William Lousel. You don't really go as deep as is possible for them to in this race and try and optimise that final stint on the softer tyre, well, not the softer tyres because it's the same thing, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just optimise that final stint with the fresher tyres and really fight in case any safety car issue comes up. So Andrew, Clutchy and Rhodes yet to stop. Jono, the Ghost, William, they've made their pits just now. Mo and E Rhodes obviously pitting slightly earlier, around lap 19. Rhodes has already made 4 stops, of course. A little bit of a difficult day for SF Rhodes in with Clutchy. He managed to get that down to second, so pass and go. And the extra lap on Clutchy as Clutchy hits the pits. Rhodes makes the extra lap. He's got to really, really capitalise now. He's going to be pushing very, very hard to try and get a super duper fast lap and close a second and a bit on whatever Clutchy can do as he exits the pits. This is going to be a position deciding pit stop for Rhodes. Let's have a look. We'll stick with him. See, he's really got to push as Clutchy's just leaving the pits now, so Rhodes coming down into the hairpin. Not as far forward as I would have thought he'd be, but he's very Okay, so the gap's very small for these pits. Obviously it's a very short pit lane, but didn't realise it was that short a gap. They're almost on the same sort of bit of track still. But here comes Rhodes. He's keeping it nice and neat, but he's got to think about keeping it nice and fast for this one, because this really could mean third or fourth for him. Comes in the swim pool section, carry as much speed as possible. Very smooth on the wheel, I must add. Under braking. Surely into the pits this time around. No, he's going even longer, going another lap. So Rhodes is really, really pushing for that gap. Clutchy's hit the pits, and they were right next to each other. So Rhodes is really going for that extra couple laps to try and get the overcut on him. I'm not sure if it's going to work out this time, but we know that the Ghost, just before his pit stop, was setting fastest lap, so the tyres may well still be there. But his Rhodes, SF1 Rhodes, got enough pace to make up, I think it was just a second, the gap between the two, as Clutchy, who was ahead, as Clutchy pit when he was ahead of Rhodes, just by a second. Rhodes did one lap, he's doing a second lap without pitting. Lap 26 for 39, he's really looking for that slightly fresher set of tyres in the opening stint, and to get that overcut on Clutchy. Desperate to see how this turns out. Is he going to pit in this lap, or is he going to leave it another lap? And here's Clutchy just coming into the tunnel now, as Rhodes is coming or approaching swimming pool section. So this is a little bit nail biting, as Rhodes got the pace now. It's very, very, very close. Rhodes goes for another lap. Oh, really keeping me on the edge of my seat, or the edge of my bed, because I'm not in a seat. It's like about 13-14 seconds to Rhodes and Clutchy. I don't know if that's enough. I think you need about 16 seconds at least to sort of capitalise on that. I'm not sure. Just trying to watch that delta and see if it's coming down. It doesn't look like it's moving too much, if I'm honest. So Rhodes might just have done enough. William Hauser with the fastest lap there, 1:25.5. Andrew, JS Thomas and SF1 Rhodes yet to stop then. Andrew, plenty of time to waste. He can pit on the last lap if he really wanted to. I don't know whether he'd lose that win. 32 seconds ahead of SF1 Rhodes at the moment. And then, of course, William Lauser is another 3 seconds behind Rhodes. Rhodes actually pulling the gap to William, and Clutchy not really closing the gap to William, so he might be doing just enough now to actually pull that gap and get ahead of Clutchy. He's got to keep it consistent. Almost missed a fight emerging at the back between the Ghost and Jono. Andrew JS gets a 3-second time penalty, but I'm not sure that's going to hamper him too much. So Jono and the Ghost having a fight now for 5th position. Very close between the two. Ghost bumping, just popping over those curbs, and Ghost going very, very deep indeed. Both of them entering the pits then, so a lack of wing for the two of them. Jono managing to capitalise slightly as the Ghost went very deep, hitting the wall. He's going to come out a lot closer than he would have been initially. Oh, we've just lost Rhodes. Oh, what's happened, Rhodes? I did not see what happened there either, but Rhodes just went into the pits and retired because he didn't see anything. So I think he threw in the pan there. As yeah, as he says, not much fun for his first time driving the classics. But there you go, great attempt by Rhodes, making 4 stops, and still probably wasn't really the slowest or last driver on the track. But here's the fight we're looking at. It's Rhodes versus Clutchy. Rhodes yet to pit. Clutchy pit just 3 or 4 laps ago, I believe. And Rhodes really pushing it as far as he possibly can. But with William catching and Clutchy also catching, I don't know whether the gap is going to quite be big enough when Rhodes decides to make that pit stop. But it is now 14.5. I think he might have the gap now. It's about 14.5, maybe 15 seconds, the gap between Rhodes and Clutchy. So I think possibly Rhodes is looking at that gap and trying to think whether it's a comfortable enough one for him to make his pass or make his pit, and then hopefully in doing that get ahead of Clutchy. So laps 30, 39. Probably time to start thinking about a driver of the day. Just 7 finishes today at the moment. Don't want to speak too soon. 7 finishes at the moment for today's race. So you can start thinking about driver of the day. Pop it in the chats if you've got any thoughts. Take this time to point out we have, of course, got the Instagram, Facebook, Discord, and YouTube channels and pages. So if you are new to the channel, watching for the first time, and you're quite interested, we have GP3, GP2 and GP1, far bigger grids, far more exciting racing at times. Great stuff for your weekend viewing. Fridays at 8:30, I believe, is kickoff for GP3, 8:30 on Saturdays for GP2, 8:30 on Sundays for GP1. Some great racing there, all streamed and covered. I cover GP3, can't do any others because I race in GP2, and I have another league on Saturdays, but we have some great streamers, great commentators to help out with that. I think Chris Coates, who does a few of them, is brilliant. He proper professional streams are really great to watch. Just sit back and relax if you've had a hard day and you just want to watch a bit of racing whilst the F1's on, the real F1's on hold. I'd love to see you tune in and watch. Meanwhile, Rhodes still going strong. There's no need to now, of course, because Clutchy has made a mistake somewhere, and he's now 19 seconds behind Rhodes. So Rhodes looking really comfortable now. Should be able to make that stop any lap now. William Lauzal's getting very shifty behind him. He's going to want to get past as soon as possible. So that's the ghost actually behind the fight between Rhodes and William. He's a back marker, so don't take too much notice of him, but it's nice to see the ghost has got the pace to stick with SF1 Rhodes and William Lauzal. But Rhodes really going to want to pit now because he's losing time to Clutchy. He's going to want to pit now. If he leaves it any longer, it's not going to be the right decision at all. Just stick it in the pits now, mate. He goes for another lap. I don't know whether he's looking at his delta, but he's running out of time. That gap's coming down very quickly from what was 18 seconds, the biggest gap he's had so far. It's coming down now, almost 17 already. William's giving him pressure, and if he starts fighting with William, he's going to lose a lot of time to Clutchy. And if you are listening with me in the background, SF1 Rhodes, don't know what you're doing, but I hope you got a plan. Very interesting strategy from SF1 Rhodes. Of course, Andrew J.S. Thomas doing the same, but he can afford to, as he's got that 30-second gap to William Lousel. William would obviously wish that Rhodes wasn't in the way, as he could possibly start making an advance on the first place of Andrew JS, but obviously with on lap 32 or 39 is run out of time really. Don't know whether Rhodes is intending to pit at all or not, but he doesn't seem to want to go into the pits at all. We'll see if he does it this lap. He's pushed it very, very long time on these tyres. 33 laps on one set of tyres. Same with Andrew JS, but is he going to go into the pits this time round? No, he stays out again for SF1 Roads. So very, very bold move. I don't know whether in the Classic Series you have to use a second set of tyres. You actually have to do a pit stop. I'm not sure, but I do think you have to do that that first pit stop and get another set of tyres in. I'm not sure if he'll get a penalty or disqualification at the end of the race for not doing so, but it certainly looks like he is going that way for now, and he's might pay off for him as he's in second place. If he's got the tyres to last to the end of the race, Williams really struggling to get past. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So Rhodes calling a big strategy, like I don't know what to call it. Not even a strategy. There's no strategy involved. Literally taking away the strategy and just driving. So if he can do this, forget Andrew JS, because he's really, really quick. Great stuff to him. Good job, but he's miles away. If Rhodes can do this and stay in front of William, who has pit and is attacking, that would be extreme. That gap to clutching now down to 16 seconds, so he's not really going to be ahead after the pit stops anymore. He can't really afford to pit now. And he stays out for one more lap. I think he's going to the end. 5 laps remaining, including this one that they're doing right now. This is going to be very interesting. Rhodes has just got to hold William off for another 5 laps, and he's going to definitely get driver of the day. I don't know what penalties would put people where, but he's thinking, I could have had third anyway, so why not just properly try for second, which he's just lost out in. Oh, and Rhodes got very confused there as to who was around him, and slowed up massively to let the Ghost through, who of course wasn't fighting him. But that, unfortunately, is the end of Rhodes' attempt to stay in second position. I'm not sure if it was an entirely fair move by William Lousel, but he got it done anyway and moves ahead. Rhodes, unfortunately, not able to hold on to that second position. No, he's not pitting at all, so he's probably definitely going to the end of the race now. Clutchy, if he can, and if he can push and try and close 14 seconds, depending on whether the Rhodes' tyres hit a cliff or not, he could possibly, very possibly, catch Rhodes, depending on whether there's a cliff or not on those classic tyres. Croshy pushing. Disappointing that William actually managed to get ahead. Of course, Rhodes is going to be very disappointed with that, but very well done to keep himself in such a dominant position on track. He's where he would have been had he have stopped anyway, so it's just a case of whether he can hold on to it till the end of the race. And the Ghost probably getting quite antsy behind Rhodes right now. Obviously, he's a back marker. He's very far down, only in 5th, but he is a back marker. William Balzel comes into the first corner, a little bit leery on the power. Oh, I got a hiccup there. A bit leery on the power out to the first corner. Lap 36, 4 laps remaining. Anything can happen, remember, so even that 34-second gap ahead is not safe yet. With 4 laps remaining at Monaco in a 1978 Lotus. Anything can happen. Andrew is not safe. William is not safe. Rhodes is not safe. For all we know, Johnny could win this race. For all we know. With just 3 laps remaining for the leader. The Ghost running very close to the back of Rhodes. There's no point really doing much as he's a minute and a bit behind. Clutchy's not managing to close that 15-second gap at all, and he's really run out of time now. So, like I said, anything can happen, but if we think realistically in terms of a clean finish to the race, Clutchy's not got anywhere to go at all. The only person realistically that could make anything happen is Rhodes, sitting just 2.2 seconds behind William, but even then, on a 37-lap-old tyres, he's not going to be able to do that. It's interesting, though, that Clutch is unable to make any gains on SF1 roads, and he's on the newer tyres. So he's actually on, 12-lap-old tyres as opposed to 36 or 37-lap-old tyres, as they will be in a minute. Interesting to see. I wonder what the actual tyre wear is on Rhodes' car. I'm sure we can ask him in the podium questions. Of course, at the end of the race, we'll invite Andrew JS, William Lalzel and SF1 Rhodes into the party. And after I've cautioned them on swearing and only being speaking when being spoken to, I will proceed in asking them questions about how their race went, and we'll be able to get a nice overview of what really went on. I think for Andrew it's going to be a sort of plain and simple, it was lonely and I was fast, but we'll see. Nice little battle at the end there between William and SF1 Rhodes, and get an overview of how SF1 Rhodes did it. But yeah, really no need to pit at all. So Andrew J.S. Thomas has just crossed the line to start his final lap. 33 seconds ahead of anyone else. He can pit on the final corner and still win the race. So might do a Michael Schumacher. SF1 Rhodes not managing to close that gap at all. So it looks like these will be your finishing positions. I don't want to speak too soon. It's been known to happen. Everything changes on the last lap, but so far I think Andrew J.S. Thomas is going to be your winner. There's a Sector 1 yellow flag, just as I was saying. The Ghost spins it round, so no one really to change the podiums. But oh, and Chono, like I was saying, Chono passes the Ghost on that final lap. The Ghost was just pushing his car around the track there. Does not care anymore. He really wants to get Jono back, but he's got no front wing. And Jono, massively advantageous, and just nicks that 5th position off the Ghost, who is driving like a maniac right now to try and catch up with Jono. Very interesting take to the track. He's Andrew J.S. Thomas crosses the line. William Lalzel comes around the final sector, as well as SF1 Roads. Clutchy's there as well. Ghost is still trying. Oh, you tried too hard. The Ghost tried too hard to ride round the outside. Rhodes taking 2nd position after penalties. Like I was saying, it was very important to wait till the end of the race to see about penalties. So great stuff from SF1 Rhodes. And William Lalzel, I think, managing to stick in 3rd position there. So I'll invite the drivers into the session, and we can get the podium questions underway. Where is William? There is William. And Andrew J.S. Thomas invites. So we'll just wait for all the drivers to get into the party, and then we can proceed with the podium questions. Andrew J.S. Thomas taking the win there, 33 seconds ahead of anyone else. SF1 Rhodes taking 2nd after penalties with an amazing drive on a 0-stop strategy. William Lalzel, 3rd place, manages to pass SF1 in the end, but just couldn't hold on after penalties. Clutchy, 4th, nothing really happening after that pit stop, which ended up being a grave move from Clutchy. Jono, the Ghost, SF1 Mo, E-Roads, unfortunately didn't finish. Whiffy, Livid Opossum and Kimi Raikkonen didn't finish either. Have we got everyone? Yes, we do. Wonderful. Just make sure that your little box is ticked so that your audio is included in the party chat, and in approximately 7 seconds I will commence. Awesome stuff. So I'm going to start with William in 3rd position. Had a little bit of a fight towards the end with SF1 Rhodes, who decided to go on a 0-stop strategy, but after penalties, unfortunately, that dropped you back to 3rd. Give us a little bit of an overview on quali in the race for you then.
Yeah, well, yes, that we had a strong performance but the quali we did not have an opportunistic to get on pole position, but yeah, we don't have the pace that we got where we got, and the race, well, my tires could not hold out until the end because the tire was completely too hot, and I had to no choice but to make another stop. So what I made a choice, so I tried to get the finish in the race to do the no stop. So that's all there's to it.
Yeah, well, it's great race for you. You actually sitting quite happily in 2nd, but like you said, not quite managing to get the 0 stop under your belt, and had to pit and eventually lost out, unfortunately, to those penalties. So great race from you. Well done on 3rd position. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And yeah, again, great race from you. 2nd position for SF1 Rhodes then. That was
Yeah,
that was a pretty exciting race for you. Again,
it
I'll
was.
I'll ask you a couple of questions after, but talk us through your qualifying in your race.
I was able to do a little practice, so that helped. And I know this is kind of a one-off. I'll be here and then I won't be here, but these guys were generous enough to let me race today, so I gave it a go. This car, this 78 Lotus, is a lot to handle, so I saw that I could do a one stop, figured that would be the best bet, and I just tried to keep it as clean as possible. That hard chicane right out of the tunnel was the most difficult spot on the track.
Yeah, definitely. I've not even driven the 78 Lotus once, I don't think, so I can't even imagine what it's actually like, especially for 39 consecutive laps whilst under pressure from other drivers.
Yeah, I mean
Just one
it was great
penalty
to
for you,
have.
so fairly clean. But yeah, that nice fight between you were sort of on and off fighting Clutchy and Livid Opossum. Uh, how was the racing from that sort of section between Livid and Clutchy for you? Any comments on that?
I'm so happy that I actually had people to race against, and instead of it being a boring, by myself, lapping lap after lap, having a couple cars out there kept me going. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, congratulations on second. Awesome stuff pulling off the zero stop whilst also having to fight other drivers as well. Brilliant stuff. You definitely got my driver of the day.
Thank you,
Um,
dude.
so well done. Andrew, another win, I believe. Yeah, another win in classics. So just pure domination, really. Can't really say much more. Boring race. Did you come across any fun back markers, or give us a sort of Andrew JS view?
Um, cool. Firstly, like, well done to William. Um, I mean, if he hadn't stopped there, I think, there was definitely a race to be had. His placing at the end was really good too. So, well done, and well done to Rhodesy as well. A podium's a podium, so well done, mate. Um, the race was alright. It was actually, I wouldn't call it boring. It was actually quite challenging. Definitely some moments where I thought I might make, well, did make mistakes just because you start to get a little bit like, yeah, feel like you're dozing off, but not dozing off in a tired sense, dozing off because it's just becoming monotonous, like when you're driving along a long road
Yeah.
kind of thing and nothing changes. So that was a bit scary.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, there were one or two back markers that I think Jono thought I was coming to overtake him, so he got a little bit defensive, but Jono's a fair driver and eventually realized that I wasn't coming to overtake him, and then someone else had spun. So, luckily there was a bit of a gap behind me, so I just avoided it, took my time, and then yeah. But yeah, happy with the win in classics, but I need to start learning to win in the big leagues. But I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, well done. Obviously, very dominant drive, brilliant stuff, and yeah, hopefully you can transfer that into your GP league race
Yeah.
at the weekend. So hopefully we'll see you on the top step again at the weekend. But
Uh,
thanks again, guys. Great job from William for the third position, even
well done,
after those
guys.
penalties. SF1 roads, brilliant stuff, and congratulations, Andrew, on the win again.
Cheers, gents.
Thanks to all the viewers. We have had quite a handful this Wednesday evening, so thank you to everyone. And we'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Good night.